Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is a Friday night, and we are doing a live stream NFBC Cutline. This is a best ball points format, and yeah, we're about a month and a half away, something like that, from the season. Spring training is going on. Shane Boz will join us sometime later this summer, and yeah, we're gonna draft. This draft starts in just a few minutes, so we're gonna do a little rundown of the Cutline. We've got a special guest who is in this draft joining us in a little bit. But right now, I have a good friend of mine here. He is a veteran NFBC player. He comes to Vegas with us every year. He is a very wonderful man, and he is from Kansas City, representing the Kansas City Moose Adult League hockey team. Anthony Gialdi. What's going on, Anthony? How are you, man?
What's up, Vlad? Thanks for having me. It's good to see you.
You too. How you been doing a lot of drafting so far this year?
Yeah, probably a little bit too much. It's been a long draft season. We started with the Gladiators, and we've worked our way through all the way to today, and now we're getting into the live drafts. So it's pretty exciting.
Yeah, yeah. So third week of March, we're all going to be going to Vegas and drafting all the fun stuff there. But first of all, this is Cutline. This is a different beast to tackle. This is a tournament that has a $175 entry. They are 10-team leagues, 42 rounds, and so it's 55 seconds per pick. And the way these work is they are of the best ball format. So you don't have to set lineups. It just takes your best lineup each day, adding up the points. You just have like a basic type scoring system with basically where you're getting like 6 points for homers, I'm sorry, 5 points for stolen bases, negative point for every at bat, and then on the pitching side, it's 3 points per innings pitched, negative points for hits, earned runs, and then walks allowed, and then a point for strikeout, 6 point for wins, and 8 points for saves. So we're going to start this draft here in a minute. I am pick 9 of 10. And yeah, I mean, looking to just draft a balanced squad. I think in the Cutline format with points, the closers, for example, are devalued in this format. Starting pitchers go a little bit later than they do in your traditional 15-teamers. And then even like stolen bases to a degree. I mean, it's helpful, but you really just kind of want overall balance with your players, just really, really good hitters. Anthony, you played some Cutline yourself in the past. Is there anything like specific strategy-wise that you recommend in this format?
Well, I know that if you bounce between Cutline and other formats, you really have to get your mind around the points format. And like you said, you don't need to prioritize categories more than you just need to look for the most productive, hitters. Hitters generally are prioritized, but I know that from what I can recall, if you can really hit on starting pitchers later, it seemed like that was a huge boon. But you can't take them too early, right? Because
Yep.
yeah. So I'm not probably not the expert you are, but I'm kind of excited to see how this goes. So.
All right. So we got the draft board up here. I'm going to be pick 9. Not a big deal, but the names are hidden just for the sake of, I didn't check with everybody. I don't know everybody who is in this league. I know Siege is in this league. I know there's a really good player in the Cutline format, Mike Burton. By the way, last year, not to brag, but I did come in 3rd overall in this contest. There's obviously a little bit of luck involved, and I think I drafted a good team, but just it really got hot down the stretch for the last month of the season, and then I was out of town for work the week of the final week of Cutline, and it just the last couple of days it just kind of fell off. Spencer Strider did not have 2 starts that week, so that hurt a little bit. Lost a few starters on the weekend, and then Mike Burton came in 4th, right behind me. So see what I can do. But here I'm gonna want to try to win this league and then get into the actual playoffs, the Cutline format, which I'll explain a little bit later. So we are off and running. Yep, I know the screen's a little small here. What I will do actually, which will help, is I will have the big sticker pop up. So it'll show the big sticker when every
So
pick
if
is
you do
paid.
big sticker, it's going to show team names.
Yeah. Oh, well, there
Yeah.
and there it is. Yeah. I have never done a draft where somebody was, afterwards like, oh,
Okay.
gave up
Okay.
my name. Yep. So, all
Okay.
right. So here we are, two picks in. Ronald Acuna, the undisputed number one. By the way, he averaged 8.5 cut line points per game last season, which is obviously insane. The only other players to even average over 6 were Corey Seager and Freddie Freeman. Obviously, well balanced hitters, just accumulate a crap ton of hits and hit for good average. Of course, average doesn't play out specifically in this format, but the hits and the walks and everything that comes with it here. So here we are through 3, pretty close to ADP. Oh, by the way, I may not have said it, but I'm Vlad Sedler, FTN Fantasy, ftnfantasy.com. For this format, we do have Cutline rankings. So they are part of the VDP formula. They are a mix of my projections powered by FTN data and with a little spice from me on top. And then it's mixed in with ADP. ADP needs to be acknowledged because just based on my projections, I might have players that are popping in 50 spots higher than ADP, 50 spots lower. So there needs to be an absolute weight there for the ADP. And then some bonuses mixed in too for things like catchers in this format. I know are, you want to, at 42 rounds, you want to have at least 4 solid catchers. You don't want to be dealing with the Yasmani Grandals of the world, Martin Maldonados. So, all right, so here we go. Coming up on pick 9, I'm going to load my Cutline rankings that I uploaded from the FTN site. There's Siege. He just picked 7th. He grabbed Corbin Carroll. So through 7 here were Acuna, Betts, Bobby Witt, Julio, Aaron Judge, who has the ADP of 4 in this, Freddie Freeman, Corbin Carroll, Soto, and now I'm up. My rankings are telling me that Kyle Tucker's my guy. So that's what I'm going to do here. I know I have to be cognizant of 2 picks that I have here, pick 9 and 12, and I got just one guy between me. And I know he is a very good player as well now that I see his name. But I'm going to go ahead and select Kyle Tucker. How are you looking at positioning here? Does it matter for you in the first round, or are you just kind of looking at the best player? If you're looking at like him versus, say, first base Matt Olson, Ohtani, Turner.
Yeah, I would say you're just trying to take strict. I mean, I wouldn't know that. I don't think I would go first base, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think there's a lot of freedom in this format
Mm-hmm.
to really just take the best available player for the first few rounds. I don't think you should get caught up in position yet. I realize that some people might try to overthink it, but with 10 teams, it's going to be hard to create scarcity for quite a while. So,
all right. So I've got an outfielder to start in Kyle Tucker. And you know what? It maybe is a bad idea that I'm passing on Ohtani, but I'm going to go for the gusto here. I'm going to grab his teammate and just get a little
nice.
mini stack action with
I love
Yordan
it.
Alvarez.
I love that pick.
Yeah, and the downside with Yordan is doesn't play full seasons most part. At some point he's just going to be also a full-time DH and might lose that outfield eligibility. But we know the upside. I mean, he's a top 3 hitter in baseball. The power is just insane. It's like it's him and Judge, and
Right.
and yeah, he's an absolute beast. And I think 50 home runs is within the realm of possibilities if you get 650 PA. It's the 650 PA that is
Right.
the unlikely.
He's a generational talent. He's one of those few guys that has the 50 home run, 320 average, in play, which is very rare. I mean, Soto maybe could get up in there one day. Alvarez in the old days, Trout. I don't know about average anymore with him. So he's a smash pick. I thought for you right there. Great pick.
And I have Ohtani, I think, projected for more cut line points. And obviously he's going to be hitting there between Betts and Freeman. It's magical. And obviously I think there's similar risk with him health wise. And, obviously the upside is huge with him too. But there is a little bit of just a slight concern with just the UT only. And it's very slight, right? Because if Ohtani is the guy producing 6 points per game for you in that slot, you're not really worried about flexibility because you're just locked in pretty much every time he's playing. and you'll get great production out of them. But you know, eh, what kind of pulled me over the edge there was just I had Kyle Tucker. Jordan seemed like a good match there.
Yeah, I think the consideration for Otani has nothing to do with his production for me. I would have gone Alvarez like you did over Otani, only because you want to leave yourself open later to the other UTs if a great deal opens itself up. When you take Otani early, you're throwing those, not necessarily that you could never take them, but it just wouldn't be the wisest thing, where they go. They go a little earlier than I would like to take a second UT. So.
And yeah, and I just did pull up my actual raw Cutline point rankings, and the difference, even though I have them back to back, like 12-13 in VDP, Jordan Alvarez, he's projecting here for me for 793 points compared to Shohei Ohtani's 718. Who knows how that'll actually end up, but there's just, it's coming through in the extra hits, right? With the average, walks and everything. Like, he's just a beast. So we'll see. All right. So
you don't have to play lineup bingo every week with the best ball. You just you fire away and let it ride. So you don't have to guess if Alvarez is if he's sitting on a Monday. It doesn't really matter.
Yep. All right, so here we go through the turn here in the second round, going backwards, snake draft. Matt Olson, Jordan Alvarez, Shohei Ohtani, Austin Riley, a consistent beast over the last few seasons. Prime there in arguably the best lineup in the game. Jose Ramirez, slight decline. Trey Turner, slight decline. Francisco Lindor with the surprise 30-30 season. And then we had our first pitcher, Team 3 there, took Spencer Strider, Bryce Harper on the MVP Reclamation Tour. And then here on the turn, the guy with Acuna at 1 got Albies, the presumed number 2 hitter, going with Garrett Cole. So that's a nice trio. Do you like the pitcher there, or would you have gone 3 hitters?
I think I would have gone 3 hitters just because of the weight. I don't think there's an urgency for pitchers in this format yet. It doesn't mean that it won't work out for him. We'll just see how it goes. But I think I probably would have stacked up the hitters right now. I don't know. What are your feelings on early pitchers like this? Do you feel like that can work out in this format?
This is the only format where I could legit go 6 straight hitters, and I don't mind. And part of it has to do with, just when you've been researching and studying and doing projections for months, you just feel more comfortable with parts of the pitcher pool later on. And there are just a lot of guys that I know in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 that I know are going to drop a little bit. So I have a comfort level in being able to grab those guys. A couple interesting picks after that. The player at team 2, he paired Betts with Harper and then Matt and Pete Alonso. So he's got 2 first basemen. Those guys will be locked in most weeks. Ellie De La Cruz going right around his ADP there, pick 3-3. And then bam, William Contreras. That's quite a jump on ADP.
Something. Yeah.
I will tell you, I'm looking at the ADP from the last 3 weeks of cut lines, and he's got an ADP of 40. That's pick 24. So yeah, that's a little bit ahead, but that's fine. I mean, he's bulked up a little bit this summer. He's going to, over the winter, he's going to play every day. He could be the catcher 1 this year, easy.
He feels like, and I'm not saying there's a lot of differences, but he feels like a young Salvi. He feels like a guy who's going to play a ton of games and is on the upswing, maybe with power. Mm-hmm. He's got a big build. He's a big kid. And I just think, obviously that's an aggressive pick, but I'm not opposed to taking him. I mean, he's definitely feels like there's a big season coming in the next year or 2.
All right. And then they're at pick 7, and he'll pop up in here into the lobby, and we'll let him in a minute. But Siege, if you don't know Siege, then you don't know fantasy, the fantasy industry. You don't know fantasy baseball and all. But the Siege has been playing Cutline for several years. Very fun guy, personality, recovering attorney, you'll probably say. But that's a nice start there as well. Corbin Carroll, obviously, top player last year with Austin Riley, Vladimir Guerrero. He usually knows how to build these puppies. So there he goes at 7. Team 8, Soto, Ohtani, and Simeon is a nice little trio. Oh, shoot. Thanks for telling me that.
I wanted to, sorry, I didn't direct you. sooner.
Oh, crap. Let's go Gunner.
Nice. I really like the dual position, with the Ellie and the gunner and the bets. I really think that could serve well in this format too. I mean, they have to be a good player, but I like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, technically my rankings and even, my rankings have Corey Seager ahead of him. Had Corey Seager, okay,
Yeah.
I'm going to make my pick first and then I'm going to talk.
Okay. Sure.
I see this is a kind of league where, do you risk somebody like Seager, especially if he's missing some time? It's going to be a deep bench. If I think he'll be back by opening day or a couple of weeks in, then I could take him. If this was my only cut line, I would not take him. But I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
Great.
Yeah, you got a long wait here. My question to you is, and I'm sorry, forgive me for not checking the site with this question, but when is the first fab for this?
The first fab usually comes pretty early in the season, and that is going to be April 9th. So that's
Gotcha.
going to be for week 2. So teams that are drafting now, anything that changes over the course of spring training, injuries, whatnot, you drop those guys, you clean your team up. And then the second fab period is June 4th.
Gotcha. Yeah, the April 9th is beautiful. You can really take some shots later and feel like you can dump dead weight if you need to. Maybe some guys you're hoping make a team or relievers even late. That you don't know for sure what that situation is going to be. So I like that early cut, that early fab.
Yeah, and Seager there. I mean, like we had to reduce his projection, obviously, with a little bit of risk, and still, I mean, I had mentioned it on the FTN Fantasy Baseball podcast with Jason Anthony last week. Corey Seager is like in his last 4 or 5 healthy seasons not healthy seasons, in his last 5 full seasons, excluding 2020, he's like averaging 500 plate appearances a season.
Yeah, I think the injury tag we can get rid of. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know there's a cloud over him right now, but I think he's really shown that he's not that player everybody labeled him years ago. And that's kind of funny how that happens. We were talking about Alvarez. Everybody's injury prone until they're not anymore. They have 2 straight big seasons, where they're just not getting hurt anymore. Sometimes these injuries are not soft tissue. Sometimes it's someone getting hit on the wrist with a pitch, or just wild things that aren't necessarily the player's fault. I don't know how to I don't know what a better explanation of that would be.
It makes sense. All right, I'm gonna actually, I want to pull up, just have the scoring set up from last year, or just like the scoring results, because I'm curious. I do want to be able to quote that as we go here. Let's see. Players.
I wanted to mention while you're doing that, I thought about the Seager pick after you started talking there. The fact that Henderson qualifies at short, he really covers Seager early. You've got a great hitter to cover short. If Seager's out, when Seager comes back, he covers third. So I think that's a great pairing. I'm not trying to blow smoke. I just think that makes more sense behind Henderson.
Yeah, and just like as far as like overall points, just among middle infielders last year, I mean, it was a pretty stark difference. I mean, Mookie Betts was the only guy with 900 total points, or more than 900 total points. Bobby Witt was right behind him. They had like 878. And then you had in the 700s, Lindor, Simeon, Albies, Seager, Trey Turner. And then everyone else was just, just kind of moving on down. Yeah. But I don't want to say his name before he starts, but I'm going to. But the next guy on that list was actually Nico Horner. That guy produced basically a little over 4.5 points per game last season.
Yeah, he just went to 4. I think that those last year, generally, I think there's a lot of ways to get to the points, whether it's, one guy has more power, one guy has some speed, whatever. But I think that points are probably more stable than expecting one category to repeat, if that makes sense. Who really cares if the guy hits 270 or 300 if the points are similar year to year? Because maybe the guy's production, his lineup, his his power one year, home run to fly goes up. There's a lot of variables.
Variables, yeah.
Yeah, and then you get to the points in either way. As long as they're healthy, that seems like the key.
Yeah, health is really the name of the game in this, and we all deal with the injuries, and then we have to be very careful with those two fab periods, right? We have to account for. We need to first of all, based on what our roster looks like how much has sort of been wiped off the plate, or how many guys are injured going into that first fab period in week 2 or 3, whenever it is. You almost have to decide in advance: am I going to spend a giant chunk of my $1,000 fab budget now, or am I going to wait for it, for it to blow it in June? So there's pros and cons to both. Some of it has to do with the players available, but there's every single year, right? There's always somebody that kind of comes to the forefront, and not the obviously Yerman Mercedes type, right?
Right. Yeah, no, for sure. There's going to be. I can tell you just you're up now. I can tell you for sure. Like we do 50 round draft and holds, early in the year, and even now they're still kind of winding down. And there will be good players that show up in April that nobody drafted in a draft and hold. It's crazy to think that it's that deep in baseball, but the top half of this draft and the top half of most drafts is pretty stable. I mean, you can mix them up a little bit based on your build, but the key is, at the end, can you hit on some guys later in your draft that turn into gold that should go, next year they'll go in the top 10 rounds, and you got them in the 30th round of this. So that seems to be the great equalizer, is guys that are hitting late.
Yeah. So here we go. We got one more pick here, and then I'm going to bring someone special on. But I just went with Jazz Chisholm. I'll talk about him in a minute, but I'm going to make my next pick here. And the guy to the right of me at pick 10, very talented player. He has, man, that's pretty beastly team. Tatis, Olsen, Bichette, Altuve, Schwarber, Trout.
It's
so
a
like
bashing team. Yeah.
we're just going for an arms battle here. I want to see, I got a little bit here on the clock. I might consider going with pitcher. How much time do I have? 20 seconds. Let's see here. Yeah. All right. I'm considering it. I do not want another outfielder yet. Let's go with a pitcher.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. All right. I'm going to take a big strikeout guy, Luis Castillo. Nice. So I'll break the seal on it. All right, ladies and gentlemen, there he is.
There he is.
The Siege, DFS. What's up, man? How are you, CJ?
What's good? What's going on, Vlad? How are you?
I'm good. We haven't seen you in a while, and you're back on the Cutline circuit. Is this your first one, or you've been doing these?
Number 2 for me. It says 3, but it's actually number 2. So yeah, this is the second one. So just kind of getting back into the groove of the Cutline.
You are you and Anthony familiar? You guys know each other?
I met you last year at the MTM party, just briefly. You were running around between the draft and running back and forth to the table, and I just said hi, and you said hi, and so I don't know, we didn't really talk much, but that was the first time I met you in person. We've talked on a few Zooms over the years, but
yeah, no, that night is always crazy, especially when I do Midnight Madness. It's just wild night.
Yeah.
So I used to be good at geography and landmarks and everything, but what's that beautiful background you have there in the city?
Oh, this is the Boston Harbor. So yeah, it's the seaport in Boston Harbor.
So you're I think I know this, but you're from St. Louis, or at least that's like your hometown, but you're a huge Red Sox fan?
I'm originally from Boston, and I now live in St. Louis. So okay. I'm born and raised in Boston, and now I live in St. Louis.
So I know you always got a little bit of the scoop on the Cardinals, and you're probably happy that you were never a big Tyler O'Neill guy. I know you're like, don't care that he's gone now, but what's the scoop? Is there anything happening that's kind of like sneaky there? Some players that are gonna ball out? Is this like the big Jordan Walker breakout year, Lars Nootbaar breakout? Like, what's happening in St. Louis on the sneaky?
Honestly, it's kind of pretty straightforward this year. There really isn't anything crazy. At least heading into camp, there's no one that they're projecting to start that you're not expecting. It's pretty vanilla so far, heading into the strength training. So yeah, there's really nothing special. I mean, Jordan Walker should have a breakout, but I don't think that's really much of a surprise to anybody.
By the way, I know he's going to be way down. He might not even be picked in this draft or a 42nd rounder, but just like for the obscure, for like us deep drafters, what can you tell us about Ivan Herrera? Because he seems like a masher, and if for whatever reason Wilson Contreras was out, like he could step in and be a solid like C2 in 15 teamers. You think?
Yeah, absolutely. I think he could, but the problem is just like I think the him at DH experiment is over. So like I just think Contreras is going to get most of the at bats at catcher, and they're going to kind of ease Herrera in. So I wouldn't. The playing time is going to be a problem. And even if like Contreras was to get hurt, I still don't think he'd play more than like 4 times a week. But in a draft and hold second catcher emergency, certainly worth the stash at that point.
What do you think of your team so far? I mean, it's a pretty nice and loaded one. And now you got one pitcher, and then you went in on the catcher. So what do you think of your start?
Not really thrilled. I wish I could. If I had known that Rutschman, Will Smith, and Realmuto would go before it gets back to me, I would have just taken Rutschman. I kind of thought I could get one back at that spot. And in this format, you just have to have a catcher. So it looks like the catchers were getting shoved up. So I just had to jump Diaz. Not really happy about it, but in kind of a bad tier for me that I don't really love anybody. So I was okay with it, but I was begrudging it. I was like, if I don't get a catcher, then I have to take 4. And I really hate taking 4 catchers in this format.
And then just as far as where Yainer Diaz is going in non-points drafts, he's going around a pick 100. It's like around 7, 8, and the catcher 4 basically, right? Or catcher 4, 5. Are you comfortable with that? Or either of you guys comfortable with that in 15 teamers?
I am. I think he's going to have a massive breakout.
Yeah, I think they played him a lot last year at DH, which should tell you what they think about his bat. They early on announced he was going to get the lion's share of the playing time, of course, at catcher. I don't know that his defense is like anything to write home about, but when his bat is that special, they're gonna find a way to get him in the lineup, even on maybe days where they get him from behind the plate. I would think they might DH him some, depending on Jordan. So if Jordan eats up the DH at bats, maybe he does sit one day a week like a normal catcher would, but I don't know. I don't know what the plan is with Jordan in the outfield. I know they're hesitant to play him too much. So
you really only need him to play 1 or 2 days a week in the outfield to make the Diaz at catcher work.
Yeah, it would work if they do that. Yep.
So you're just trying to get to the elite catcher plate appearances.
Yes.
Like if he gets there, you're fine. Like the talent is the talent. So, and I just think there's so many ways for him to get to that many plate appearances that he's kind of one of the guys I'm okay just taking early.
Yeah. And he definitely passes the eyeball test. If you've watched Yainer at all, he's super hitterish. Like it's not an accident. Like he's aggressively attacking pitchers. So you just don't see that from catchers too often. It's just very rare that you see that come along. So
yeah. Siege, question for you. I've seen you in like regular 15-team roto leagues. I've seen you do the whole lots of hitters early, and then you wait on the pitchers. But then and then obviously you've had balanced drafts. You had the other way. But have you ever done it in Cutline where you've gone early pitchers and it's worked out, or have you just kind of resigned yourself to the fact that you need to just load up on hitters early?
I just know my strengths, and for me, it's loading up on hitting. Like even taking Kevin Gausman was painful, but I have him graded as a 3rd rounder, and it's like, all right, I have to just take him at this point, especially when other guys had gone in front that I wanted to take instead. So, but like even that felt early. Like now, I probably won't take another pitcher for a hot minute.
Yeah, that was going to be my question to you guys. Is I know maybe getting your anchor
Vlad,
pitcher.
you're on the pod, by the way.
Yeah, I'm picking it.
Like I know that you see like Team 6 there starting to stack pitchers. I didn't know if that was an alternate strategy, or if at some point here everybody just, if it turns into yellow brick road here for the next few rounds. Just curious what your guys' thoughts are on that. I see you win with another one there, Vlad.
God, I mean, Team 8 just keeps sniping me every damn time.
I went with I think it's like a game of chicken for some people. just at some point. And for me myself, I'm just kind of, we're doing the stream here, chatting and everything, and I'm kind of, this wouldn't be my typical like I kind of have my ducks in a row a little bit better and kind of know exactly who I want in every pick. And so, I mean, Senga is in a group of kind of the next pitchers I was going for. And then I'm just kind of looking at my rest of my roster, like where I would fill in and hitting. And I feel like most of the places where I need to fill, I'm not ready to go there at those positions yet. And then outfield, for example, I already have 3 through 8 rounds. So there are some guys I like a little bit later that I think I can wait on. So I don't want to push it there. And then, there'll be some catchers to take too, I hope.
And it might be early for this question. And if you guys don't really want to mess with it right now, we can talk about it later. But I know in DCs, we generally talk about like, I want to have this many pitchers when the draft is done. I want to have this many catchers, like you mentioned, 4 Siege, and maybe this many outfielders. Do you worry about roster breakdown later in the draft, or do you track it from the beginning? Are you
I track it from
constantly
the
aware
beginning.
of it?
I'm not paranoid about it till later.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of, this is my first cut line of the year. So I'm just kind of feeling out the room, testing out my, rankings and values. And I just kind of know at the end, like where I need to fill. Like I just, load up on the multi-eligible guys, but without forcing it. I think there are certain guys that get, a bump just because they have multiple positions of eligibility. It's got to be like, the right guys for me. But, later on, not to ruin things for someone later, but at some point, someone's going to take Luis Rengifo, a little before ADP because he's got 4 rounds of eligibility and could lead off at least against lefties for the Angels. And listen,
Right.
Trout and Taylor Ward, those guys are healthy there. Like maybe they do, get something going over there.
Right. For sure. This format, I mean, any format that's a deep draft, multi-position eligibility is going to at some point be attractive. But I also know with 42 rounds here, you got plenty of time to get yourself deep everywhere you need to. I don't know that unless he's a really good hitter, I don't know that I would prioritize the multi-position guys too much. I don't
There's
know.
a
Maybe
couple
I'm wrong
positions that are weaker than you think. Like,
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. There's a couple that are weaker than you think.
Like what?
Position wise, there's a
Mhm.
couple. Like, let me make this pick first, and then I will tell
Okay.
you. Because there's one position in particular I think has a real bad drop off after the top 7 or like top 10. Like I think there's a massive drop off, and it's
I
kind
know
of
the one
already
that
seen it
is, and
affect
you're
my picks
probably
to this point. So,
you're probably about to take it. So I'll be quiet.
yeah. Like I will be taking a player from that position, hopefully.
Yep.
Interesting, by the way, here, team 2. So they went with the 3 big hitters. They added Will Smith and Mookie Betts from the same team there. And then 4 straight pitchers. So I do kind of like that, a little bit of first you hit all the hitting, then you get some yellow brick road, I would assume. I don't know if they're listening, but maybe go back to the hitters. I guess that would only make sense because at this point, you kind of don't want to push it.
Yeah,
you can do less balance in this type of format, right? This
Yeah.
isn't roto. You don't need
Right.
category balance, but you want to have roster construction balance throughout.
Yeah, in Roto, if we think about that, if you're saying I want to dominate Ks or I want to dominate ratios for pitching, I could totally see just going, all out to get your pitching staff just blowing everyone away for the purposes of just being a dominant team from that standpoint and trying to piece the hitting together. In this format, it's really not that important that you're the best in wins or you're the best in ERA, things like that. So I get it. It's really more of just like a supplemental thing for your team, the pitching in this format.
Yeah, so for me, the third base pool is like 8 players deep, and then there's a massive drop off.
I agree.
So like I need to get through the first 9 rounds or 8 rounds with 2 third basemen on my roster. Just like every time I'm going to try to do that because I just can't be worrying about Max Muncy, Marquis playing time, who knows? There's one guy who's actually like a sneaky value, but I won't I'll wait till he pops up because I actually know Vlad likes him too, so I don't want to blow his spot. But like outside, like there's a couple sleepers that are nice, but there's very little consistent playing time at the position with talent. You're kind of either getting either or.
Oh wait, I'm on the clock. Oh,
you're coming up right now, yeah.
Oh no, okay.
Yeah, you weren't on the clock. I think I sniped. I think
do you guys
from teammate.
Do you guys feel like early news of course this is maybe your guys' first or early cut lines? I know a lot of guys who do cut lines do a few of them. They'll buy a 3-pack or a 9-pack or things like that. Do you guys feel like news affects ADP the same way in these that it does in general roto? Or do you feel like people don't worry about it quite as much since it's best ball?
I think you can get a lot of values in this personally based on news. Like guys don't rise as fast in these as they do 15-team roto or something, or a 12-teamer. Like they will sit lower and you can get good values later on in March. That's why you can draft good teams in March just because the value proposition. Yeah, Vlad, that was a smart pick. He wasn't coming back to you.
Really? So that's one of the things I'm weighing. So he's popping up high for me. And then I went and looked at his
almost
ADP,
took him,
and we're in the 90s, that's pick 89. And, that's Gabriel Moreno, who I took, and his ADP is 131. But, we're setting as ADP as we go, right? We don't want to be kind of too hooked on that because we're just, kind of setting the market as we go. We're doing kind of what's right. And if you notice, for example, closers, the top closers, other than Edwin Diaz, who's gone, the rest, Hader, Devin Williams, these guys are usually going there. He would typically be gone in any other cut line. And this just happens to be a room that's, kind of pushing them down.
Yeah. Like I would have actually taken another catcher before Moreno and hoped Moreno came back. But I would have double dipped if Moreno was available in round 11 for me.
Well, I was in a pickle because I've got both Wilson Contreras and Gabriel Moreno right next to each other. And
you're up, by the way.
That's good to know. Okay. Why don't you guys talk amongst yourselves? Let's see.
When I see you start talking and staring at me, I worry. I'm just going to mention it every so often. If you get tired of me telling you, just say so. Yeah. But yeah, I think catchers, it feels like there's more of an urgency in this format to get to them, just like Siege did with Yiner, and of course Moreno. I think he's a great pick. I think that because all the hitters are pushed up, consequently the catchers are going earlier than you think they would normally go because the pitchers are all on hold here.
I also just don't want to use 4 roster spots on catchers. I just find those teams are always worse for me.
So if you get 3 good catchers, you don't generally want to go with the 4th rando catcher like a backup or just a guy that maybe you're not. So 10 teams means everybody conceivably could have 3 starters. I realize it doesn't really work out that way, but is your idea to get 3 quality? And I'm not trying to pick your brain as to the names, but to get 3 quality and not worry about it, not worry about depth past that. Just let the 3 fight for the two spots in your lineup.
And if one gets hurt, they lock in a 0, and some of those bad catchers, sometimes you wish you had 0s.
So, but you can get, so you're saying those catchers, because it's -1 for an at bat, if you get a bad enough catcher, they're actually a hindrance. You'd rather have a 0.
Right.
Yep. I get it.
And the 0's not taking up an extra roster spot, right? Which gives me flexibility elsewhere to do other things.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
Does that help if I move the board? Can people see the names better?
I think we don't really need to see, all the rounds that are empty down at the bottom. I think this is a better view. Yeah.
Yeah, I just realized I should have done it. Yeah, because I just remembered and discovered as I'm trying to balance it all is that we have people here in the comments section that connects through to our StreamYard, and they're saying things, and one person said can't see a goddamn thing, and so good. All right, we got a better board now.
Maybe go back to full page though, just to.
How do I do that again?
So that little diagonal arrows up in the right hand corner.
That's right. That's right.
Yep.
A lot to remember.
And then as we move along, you could scroll down and keep the names nice and big for everybody, so that old people like me can see it easier.
There we go. Now we got a real draft board, guys. I'm first of all, thanks for to our producer Quan for setting everything up for me. I told him actually, hey, let me give this a shot. I know how to do it all, but then like, dude, there's just too many tabs, like just too many things. Got to let guests in, like so. I'll let a professional handle it, and I'll just handle my drafts here. All right, here we go. Coming up on now, we can see a board. We can see all that gray, all the catchers being taken, the seas of yellow. And now the board is formulating a bit better for us. Team 5, just one total pitcher through 10 rounds.
Team 7 as well.
Yep.
I told you I probably wouldn't take another one. And once the closers went off the board, I was kind of just like, no, I guess only one of them went, but I was kind of just done. It's like, I'll see you in 5 rounds pitchers. See ya.
Yeah, it feels like they kind of start. I mean, after the elite here, feels like they kind of all run together. That doesn't mean we don't all have our personal biases, but the hitters are going like hotcakes right now. So
this is actually more pitchers than I would typically see in some too. Like you could definitely even see less pitchers than this. Go.
Okay.
And I think we're lucky that Curtis Jones, who is a really good cutline player, I think he's on vacation out of the country, so he's not in this draft. So it's a little bit more, a little bit more pickings here available. But there's still great players. This is loaded. This is a very unique and specialized format. So you don't really have, people like, oh, let me try the cut line for the first time. But it is a great game.
Wait till March, Vlad. Wait till March. They love these 175s come March.
How many do you guys think you'll do of this format?
I'll do 4 or 5 like I did last year.
Did 12 last year. I probably am shooting for that again. Maybe 15.
Nice.
It really just depends on the last couple of weeks. What how fast they're filling.
I pulled up the prize structure, and it is almost like a Powerball type of play. $70K for the first overall. Mm-hmm. That's a ton of money. It pays. There's even a consolation. So maybe one of you guys could explain the playoff structure and when that occurs and how it occurs.
Let me make my picks here.
Yeah, make your picks.
I can vaguely do it. I just can't do it specific. Like I know first and second move on to the first championship bracket. 3rd through 5th move on to the consolation. If you finish in the top so many of the championship bracket, you stay in. If you lose, you go to the next bracket. You can actually move up from the losers bracket if you finish like in the top 3. You do that twice.
Okay.
And then you get to the finale, which is like 15 teams, I think, in the winners bracket.
20, I think. Yeah.
Is it 20 now? Okay, 20. And then there's like 100 something or a couple hundred in the consolation bracket. But yeah, you got to get lucky in the second half for sure. But that's why volume is super helpful.
Right. And that second fab is in June, you said?
Yeah, like mid-June, early June.
Okay.
Something like that.
So you got to ride those guys all the way to the finish line.
That's why having roster flexibility and not having specific needs is so important, because when you're desperate in those fab periods, you can make a lot of mistakes.
Yeah, there's a lot of strategy to the fab as well, because it's not just a matter of I need a catcher or I need a shortstop. It's if I don't get this guy, what's my fallback option? I actually talked to a buddy of ours. You guys probably know Eric Albright, and he was telling me how much time he puts into strategizing on the fab. I don't know if you guys go that deep on it, how many contingencies you make on your fabs, but the more teams you do, the more work it is. But only twice a year, and then it's pretty much autopilot.
It's a 7 to 10 day process for me, and that's the sleeper, Vlad. I had a suspicion you would take. All right, teammate needs to stop this every freaking time.
Why is somebody asking me to make it super small again? Oh, maybe someone in the league?
Probably. That would be my guess.
You sign up for it, says it right there when you sign up for the draft. To beat, it's a beat gut league. But by the way, people that do end up placing higher than me in the points in regular season, if you do, you do get a free subscription to FTN Fantasy Baseball next season, so
Nice.
2025. Obviously, the season has to play out, so can't give you anything yet. And you got to beat me. And whoever is in first, I'm just putting it on the air so you can, save this recording. I will personally purchase whoever comes in first place is a Cutline team next year.
Looking forward to my Cutline.
All right, let's look at your team again. All right. All right, we got.
I'm going to talk just a second. Your VDP rankings have this as one of the options to feed for rankings for cut lines. And I'm not a huge cut line player. I've done a few over the years, but that's a huge thing. Most people that are generally roto players, like myself, they struggle with that transition. So if I want to go do a different points format, I'm either converting it myself or maybe even, just winging it and thinking about, like who I would most like in this format with your projection system able to, spit out the points instead of roto. It's really handy. I don't know that a lot of the projection systems out there, you think about, the big ones, I don't know that any of them tailor for points. Maybe they do. I don't know that, but
look at you. Give me some brownie points for the VDP. Very much appreciated.
I want to tell you how big a deal that is, because I'd looked at it earlier and I'm like, well, this is huge if you do cut lines or any points format, head to head, whatever. What a huge difference this is than the other projection systems. Yep.
What's cool about it, or what I like, so it's literally the VDP projections fed into this point scoring system. But I can't just give you a rankings that is just raw points, because there are things that need to, go into consideration: ADP, multi-position eligibility, roster construction. We don't draft like that, right? Because if you did, then a pitcher, like, your first pitcher Strider, would be like the 30th guy in the overall raw points rankings. Cole would then be next at like 45 or whatever. So that's not how you do it. So then, you put in a few kind of filters in there, and that's kind of what it comes up with. But the other thing is there's another column that's the deltas. So that shows you the difference between what my rankings are and the actual ADP. And then you can make you can make your own decisions on that. You agree with it, you like it, then push those guys up a little bit. You don't like someone, push them down. Like, sorry, I know Spencer Steer has got like 15 positions of eligibility. I just don't love the guy. I'm not going to take him at his ADP just because he's got, 3 or 4 positions of eligibility.
Makes sense.
All right, Siege is up here. Did you get screwed over on a catcher there on your C2?
No, I already got my 3. I'm done.
Oh, you did. Okay.
Yeah, I'm
you
done.
Got 3?
Yeah, I'm done.
He went for the jugular with the catchers there. He's done.
Oh, damn.
I won't draft another one. I don't have to use that tab the rest of the day. Thank goodness. There's a couple decent ones, like if I really get stuck. But I've been really trying to avoid it. Like Tyler Stevenson, I can survive with, but I just hate. I found that every time I take 4th catchers, it's just more hassle than it's worth for me.
Yeah, so, I mean, except for DCs, we're all used to just drafting fab teams with 2 catchers. I mean, very rarely would you carry a 3rd catcher. And in this format, you have to draft 3 catchers. I mean, probably 4 for most people, except for you maybe, and maybe a couple others that are prioritizing. So it's interesting to see that game within the game, where people, it's not necessarily a points move. It's a scarcity move,
So I'm now here in a position with just 3 pitchers of the 9 slots. And by the way, it's standard NFBC format with the positions that filter through the 14 hitters, 9 pitchers. So I've got 3. You've got Team 10 over there starting to grab a couple, and he just went back-to-back closers. Catchers. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
But let's see. I'm now looking at I just grabbed my second baseman in Zach Geloff. Was the top guy on the board for me there. Kind of getting loaded on hitters. I think it might be time to start going pitchers. Man, there's some really good ones here. I need to just grab. I'm in a really tough position, and I'll explain it in a minute, or maybe after that guy goes. But I just can't let Zach Eflin go right here. Except for I didn't take him. I took my other guy. See,
Yeah,
this is what happens when you're streaming. All right.
Okay.
I was like, he didn't disappear off my queue, and what is Vlad's pain will be my gain.
Well, it's not quite pain because those are the two guys I was thinking about. And every time in a position in a draft, when you know that a guy is going to be taken, it's the crossroads, right? You're like, okay, there's going to be a drop off on the starting pitchers here. I really like Eflin. He's somebody I want to grab. I only have 3. Let me grab a 4th. Or do I want to grab a catcher that I really like in Camposano? Or am I going to have to wait for like the Tyler Stevensons and the Shea Langoliers of the world, which I don't necessarily want to dabble in as my catcher too?
I personally think you actually made the right decision.
Yes, I was just going to say, I have to tell you, when you said Eflin, I was a little disappointed, and then I saw Campusano, who I wanted you to take in my mind, and I was like, did he time out? Did he click the wrong button? I was like, that was the right pick to me. I mean, I don't know how you feel about it now, but I think it was a great pick.
Randy likes my Riley Green pick. A little terrified mentioning he'd play outfield early. He looks like, they think there's been some news on him in camp because obviously he had the Tommy John in September. He would be a much more popular pick if he was just good to go and healthy because he was,
but remember, that's his non-throwing arm.
Yeah.
So let's not get too caught. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a big deal. You don't want him to get hurt or whatever, but I hope that they don't baby him to death. I hope that they let him get psychologically comfortable with playing the field because, I mean, aside from maybe, landing on it on a dive or something, he should be good to go.
Yeah, that's why it's for me on this format in particular. This is the first Tampa Bay pitcher I've taken. I have a rule where it has to be 30 positions below my ranking to take any of them in this format, just due to their extensive injury history and how they blow through pitchers.
Yeah. Did I subconsciously get Eflin?
Is so high.
Did I subconsciously get Eflin in your mind, or he was in your queue? Anyway?
No, he was in my queue. I have him at 105, and okay. I think I took him at 135. So that's right where I was just like, I have to take him. But that's the first pitcher I've taken from Tampa in this format, and it probably will be the last. Just because I normally you won't typically see that kind of discount on this one.
Prop God says hello. He is one of our phenomenal touts over on the FTN bet side, and a really good person at tail for baseball this season. They're getting all their futures in right now. Him and MLB Dream, Adam Rosenberg, and all the guys over there. So what's going on, Prop? Hope you are enjoying this draft. All right, here we go. I'll move this board a little bit soon. Joe Musgrove is another one I like going there. Pick the end of the 14th round. With him, it's just just stay healthy, man. I was talking about it on the podcast last week about how I feel that because San Diego Padres, the bottom half of their lineup is just dead weight, and they still haven't really signed anyone. It's a bunch of guys like Cal Mitchell, Jose Azocar, people we don't know. And so we're maybe underrating like how good the pitching staff is, how good the bullpen is, especially they signed, Yuki Matsui, Usa Go there to help out Roberto Suarez. Didn't they get Wandy Peralta too? Like they're loaded.
They did. Yeah.
Joe Musgrove is one of my favorite bargains. He's on the bargain list for me. He's a guy, like if Eflin hadn't been gone, Musgrove was the next guy on my list. I really think that there's a massive discount on him this year.
Anthony, I got to ask you because you are a man of Kansas City. Congratulations on your championship in football, by the way.
Thank you.
Cole Reagan's very, very popular. He comes on. He's doing shows with Nick Pollock at Pitcher List, and they're going over his starts, and that's so cool. It's really great for the fantasy industry. And he was so dominant down the stretch, right? When he came over to Kansas City, he was just mowing guys down. Do you think like us drafting in fantasy? I'm gonna make
you're
up, by the way.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Do you think we're kind of over?
No,
we be overdoing it because we like a player that we might want to draft them more.
So without giving too much away, I have some buddies who have some contacts at the organization, and there's a very short list of guys that they want to extend / not get rid of, not trade, and he is on that short list. They are in love with him. Now, that doesn't, of course, organizations are always in love with their own players, but I think that they have unlocked something in him, and it's just obvious to everybody. It's the elephant in the room that, barring injury, he seems to have that it. His stuff is unquestioned. What boggles my mind, and this is as a Royals fan, is how in the world they pulled that off. I just can't, and for the life of me, I can't figure out how the team that won the World Series would let him go. What in the world was going on?
He had no options, and they were in a kind of a roster crunch when the deal happened.
But I mean, the roster crunch was Aroldis Chapman for him. That was the roster crunch, you know.
Yeah, because they had a DFA him. Like they had an injured pitcher they had to like carry for a couple more days before, and I guess got stuck. They played like a 12-inning game or something. I remember.
Oh, you're saying it was like that day it was a problem.
Yeah, it was like a problem for like the next week, and so like it was just one of those situations where they kind of gave up on him too, and it was kind of a perfect storm. They're like, well, we have this problem. We probably have to DFA him anyways. We'll just trade him now before we DFA and trade him.
I follow you. Wow, what a lucky break.
Yeah.
And that sometimes is how these things go, you know. He's not even older and retread or anything. He's a young guy that just never. I know that they worked with him on his slider and pitch mix things. You're up, Vlad. I hope you know.
Yeah.
That. But I don't look at KC's staff historically as being somebody who can, unlock things for pitchers. So it was alarming to me that he hit that quickly, after they got him. So it was, I don't know, it just boggled my mind that they would let him go, but that makes sense. It was a roster crunch.
That was a quick trigger there for you. Nice little trio though there. Zach Eflin, Raisel Iglesias, who unfortunately got injured in spring training. Actually, this time last year, he was my most rostered player in the early rounds. It was a year where I was like, you know what? I'm just really into Iglesias, such a good deal, and people are just overlooking it. And he's the the closer there. I'm just going to get him in the 5th round every draft, every 15 team DC, and then lo and behold, boom, spring training injury. I'm like, yeah, that's what happens when I go all in on a player. But yeah, this is Cutline format. It's not as exciting, but it's good to get those guys, especially where you'll probably luck into some, maybe a positive outlier win total, right? You can get 5-6 wins too, could get you 40 saves, great ratios, 70-80 strikeouts.
They're just also nice. They're consistent. They're going to probably be in your starting 9 more weeks than not, because they pitch more per week than your typical starter who gets 1, maybe 2 starts. So it's nice to have some of those elite guys to kind of just balance out the point totals for you and get yourself some kind of more consistent production. And the saves too, when they have 3 saves, it can add up pretty quickly.
So I think I set the min on Luis Rengifo. So I guess I kind of, projected it, but I wasn't planning on it. And I was just looking there. He has an ADP of 176. He had a min pick in the 17 cut lines of 161. So I guess I took him at the 150s. I don't think, just got some flexibility here. So I guess now I can kind of lay off the middle infielders. I got, Gunnar, Seager, Rengifo, Geloff. It's not the sexiest group, but I think I'll work with it.
Sometimes boring is what wins,
Especially in cut line, playing time is just so important. You have guys that are just there on the field. It just makes your life so much simpler.
And the reason why, it's not like I love Luis Rengifo, but I did set up some boosts on on multi-position eligibility, and there's a little extra to account for a 4-position eligibility guy. He's given me 2nd, 3rd, shortstop, and outfield, which means he can also cover corner infield, middle infield, just a ton of basically everything but first base and catcher, right?
Yeah, utility knife. Yep.
There's a couple guys too that don't have the extra position eligibility yet, that are going to get it, and those are the guys in cut line that always are good values.
Yep.
There was one today announced.
Sure.
Xander Bogaerts was announced going to be the second baseman this season. He's currently shortstop, so yeah, that's some nice flexibility there.
Yeah, we
That
saw
was,
Team One take straight advantage of it too on his team.
Yeah, that was an interesting development. I don't know if I had heard that before today, that they were considering that. Had you guys heard that they might move him?
Literally
I knew
just
the
a
arm
week
issues
prior.
weren't great, so I always assumed it was in the range of outcomes, but I didn't know they would just like get to it right away.
Yeah. No, it's wonderful. I mean, it's only a plus because, Kim already has everything, so it was just a plus for Bogarts.
Shout out from Brock for Team 8. He likes that. Got the Garver Burger combo there. It's pretty nice. That's Mitch Garver, by the way, has never had more than 500 plate appearances. He's now going to be the full-time DH in Seattle there. They got a couple of Mitches there. He's actually the better one now in this case. Mitch Haniger always has some injury concerns, but can he play? Can he just play every day, or is he just going to at some point get hurt, or just platoon versus lefties, or because he was hot. He ran hot second half of last year.
What does VDP think on at bats for him?
I had him right around there. I think it was like 490-ish, something like that.
Wow, that would be strong if he gets there. Yep.
Yeah, it just feels a little strong to me.
Yeah. I mean, if he's not catching Siege, I mean, I'm not saying, injuries find their way to guys who like to get injured, but I mean, good grief, if you don't catch him, or maybe just every blue moon, surely that's going to help. Surely that will help.
I mean,
but then Cal Raleigh gets hurt for a couple weeks, and they're just like,
no, you're right. That would be a problem. Yes,
but they got Sebi Zavala might make the team.
Sebi Tavalis, or what's his name?
Sebi Zavala. Yeah, but yeah, Mitch Garver right now. It's a kind of a new, not a full, but kind of a new look. Seattle Mariners team here. Still JP Crawford at the top. Julio Rodriguez, the man. Jorge Polanco added. Nice switch hitter. Is going to hit third in the lineup. This is roster resource I'm looking at on Fangraphs. Mitch Garver projected to hit fourth in the lineup, not in the platoon. Guy played every day last year. He mashed and hits for contact too. Cal Raleigh, Ty France. They added Luke Raley from the Rays, former Dodgers. And yeah, they got Mitch Haniger there at the bottom of the lineup. And then the word was they were going to platoon Josh Rojas with Dylan Moore at third. And then they got Luis Urias, formerly in Milwaukee, and he was injured most of last season. He's kind of going to be a rover. He can cover second, third. But that was a tough one to work with as far as plate appearance projection.
I got a question on a guy who already went, and I've seen him projected to bat third or fourth everywhere, and my brain just cannot wrap around this. Jeimer Candelario is not getting the majority of bats in the top four of that lineup, right? Like, they can start there all they want, but that's not going to be a thing in June and July, right?
Let me make my pick. Oh my God, this mofo, pick 10. So I was looking at. Oh, never mind. He did not take him. Okay, never mind. Scratch that. Please continue.
There's so much young talent that's explosive. I just feel like he's destined to end up batting sixth or seventh in that lineup.
Well, I think you're probably right that he doesn't find his way into the top four, but they paid him a ton of money. I think 3 years, 45, and he's a switch hitter, so he's not a platoon risk. And in general, that first third is kind of it's a fluid situation. I know they were talking about CES maybe playing a little outfield in the spring. Of course, you've got Marte, who's still recovering from the hamstring injury, I think in the Latin Ball. I can't remember exactly what league he was in, but this winter. So depending on how those guys pan out, hitting wise, I think their ceilings are much higher than him. I think he could be a stabilizing force. And you never know. Sometimes they like to split the lineups up strictly by hitting side. And I could see them moving him into a spot where he really doesn't deserve Siege. I could see him hitting fourth in that lineup, even though he's not the four hitter if you had to rank all the talent, if that makes sense. I just think he might get more than he deserves, if that makes sense.
I get it. Yeah. It just feels like that his price just bakes in like that for the whole season.
Yeah, I agree.
I think I'm going to take a guy who has even more playing time. I just don't believe this guy's. All right, so I'm going to draft the player, and then we're going to talk about this team. I just cannot believe that the Cubs are actually going to start Nick Madrigal at third base on a regular basis versus right-handed pitching. I just look at the rest of that team, and it's so
not
good.
going to work
I
out.
can't believe that's a thing.
No, that
like,
won't work.
There are a lot of things. There are a lot of ways that this can work out. I think first of all, I know Patrick Wisdom, literally the worst strikeout rate, like horrible plate to spin, but the guy is a monster. You got to have him in the lineup against lefties, basically. So that kind of would work as a platoon. And then what's happened is since they added Michael Busch, you're kind of blocking our boy. Why is my name blanking?
Matt Mervis.
Matt Mervis. But man, it would be. But Michael Busch could play first, or he could play third. Right now, they have it set up as like a, this is what Roster Resource has. They have a platoon at first with Michael Busch and Wisdom, and then Madrigal at third. But sometimes you can just kind of foreshadow. You can just see the writing on the wall. You combine looking at that roster with the fact that I don't really see any other place that Cody Bellinger is going to go than re-signing with the Cubs. So I see Cody Bellinger.
You don't think the Giants are a possibility?
They're a possibility, just with the tea leaves and everything that I'm reading at this point. I think Toronto was in the mix, but Toronto is much more interested in signing guys like Eduardo Escobar and Daniel
They signed
Vogelbach
today.
My God.
Yeah.
I'll be honest. I'm in trouble with Morel if they signed Bellinger. I'm in trouble. But I just don't see how he doesn't play 5 days a week.
I think Morel's going to find a lot of playing time this year, Siege. I really do.
I'm just hoping it's at different positions so I can get some multiplayer eligibility. It's not necessarily I need it until June or July, but come June or July, I really would like to have some.
Yeah. How's his defense? Is he a good defender at third?
No, he's terrible.
Okay.
He's terrible everywhere.
Yeah.
His best position is DH.
Who are you talking about?
Christopher Morel.
Yeah, he's not good defensively.
Yeah. But I know they love
10 games. Just give me 10 games at a position that's not outfield, and I'm good.
Yeah.
You just know they're not done, right? You're looking at a team where their bench, they've got Miles Mastrobuoni and Alexander Canario, the rookie. Like, it's just, it's incomplete. There's some more moves. I don't know what, Scott Boras is doing behind the scenes, but you will see a couple of guys here signing. Signings are kind of picking up quickly, and I think that Bellinger bomb's going to drop soon. It'll make a lot of sense. And then also, I would assume that Nico Horner will probably retake the top position in the lineup. Mike Tauchman had a nice little run, but it's just really kind of not a good idea, I don't think, to have him as the leadoff guy. I mean, against righties all season.
Yeah, he can have a good few weeks at a time, Tauchman, but he's a bench player that you force into the lineup, not somebody that you plan on playing. So I really don't think. I mean, you're right. Bellinger makes sense. They've still got Chapman lingering. I don't know what I think Boras is kind of holding all his guys out at once, Montgomery and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And when the dam breaks, I think you're going to see them all sign within a day or two. But for some reason, I think he's got some sort of a colluded mentality with all of them where he's not going to let any of them sign.
Well, I think Montgomery's about the whole Texas thing. Like, he wants to go back to Texas, and they're just staring at each other.
Well, I mean, pitchers and catchers are reporting, and I know not so much for hitters, but for pitchers, it's kind of important that they get rolling here. So we'll see.
Siege is on the clock here. The rookie Jackson Holiday, and you take Edouard Julien. By the way, Siege, I know you are an FTN subscriber. You got the access, and by the way, if you didn't see it, Jeff Zimmerman from Fangraphs and one of the best kind of data savants out there, he wrote a draft guide piece for the FTN Fantasy Draft Guide. It was specifically about platoons. Edouard Julien is the cover boy for the study, but it's a really, really cool article. So, everybody, if you are a subscriber, check that out. And sorry, I'm on the clock, and let's do it. It's time to roll. It's Tyler O'Neill time.
Nice.
You cannot quit him, can you?
No, it's
not in Boston. Not now. Not ever.
Good luck. Good luck with the playing time.
He's your new Nick Pivetta. He's your new Nick Pivetta.
Well,
I just don't see the playing time.
The playing time. Oh, yeah. This is why I love having you on the show, because then it's not just like, here like honky dory. We're gonna fight now. Let's fight.
Well, because everyone has Rob Refsnyder as the fourth outfielder, and Rob Refsnyder's not the fourth outfielder. He's the fifth outfielder. And I just don't think that people are quite understanding that like they don't have any long-term investment in Tyler O'Neill. And as soon as he goes in one of his slumps, they're going to call up prospect A, and then they're going to trade Tyler O'Neill back to somewhere where he's not going to play every day. Like they just have, unless he's hitting like 40 home runs, you're just not going to hit the ceiling. I knew I should have taken it.
So if you don't mind me asking, I don't think they want to play Yoshida in the outfield anymore.
Correct.
So who do you think the fourth outfielder is if it's not Refsnyder?
He's my favorite pick in the 400s. Sedan Rafaela, I think, makes the team.
Oh, okay. So you think they're going to bring him up right away?
I think he's starting. I think he's the opening day center fielder. I think he wins the job.
Well, keep in mind also they've got Wilyer Abreu, who's a lefty, and
he's
O'Neill's
just
a righty.
in the right field. He's also a great value at pick 410. Like he's going to be the
I'm
opening day.
I'm not trying to do poor form. I was just talking about the lineup.
No, it's pick 400. People will remember by then.
Yeah, but my thought was, O'Neill really needs full run to they've got. I mean, if they nickel and dime him on playing time, I think everyone's still going to wonder what he could be.
Just look at what the Red Sox did with Adam Duvall. They played him when he was hot, and as soon as he cooled off, he was done and just buried.
You might be right.
I will not get into this. I will not get into this today, but we'll see. Right? For me, it's always just a matter of the dude is just overly muscular, ripped. Not, it's the same thing, right? We had the issue with Judge a few years ago, and him and Stanton just always constantly injured. They changed up their routine a little bit. They started, a little bit more like, endurance training, yoga. I know, sorry, silly, but that stuff, it really helps. It helped them. But I don't know. Yeah, Tyler O'Neill apparently has been doing yoga for 3 years, but that is not what he's focusing on. He's focused on, lifting the weights. And so we'll see, man. It's just really about him. If he can stay healthy there, obviously we know he's got the power. He's got, great sprint speed, maybe just like a little change of scenery, right? With a manager that doesn't suck, like Ollie Marmol. And by the way, I actually discovered something, and I can say this here, but I basically had to delete a tweet, and I hope he doesn't see this because he'll actually probably crush my neck. But I thought, because on Wikipedia it says that there's this famous bodybuilder from the 80s who, even posed with like Schwarzenegger, who was Tyler O'Neill's dad, the guy on the cover of Sports Illustrated. Apparently it's not Tyler O'Neill's dad, and Wikipedia is wrong. And the only way I know that is because this person, I won't say who he was, but that it was not his dad, was like, listen, it's not his dad. And I'm like, really? But it says in Wikipedia. He's like, trust me, I would know. And then later on, he asked me if I would kindly delete the tweet, and so I did. So, and I don't think he's going to be listening to the stream, so I think we're good.
Yeah.
I think pick 194 was time to gamble on Kyle Bradish.
Really?
I was thinking about it.
Whoa, that's alarming. Tell me what you think about it.
The talent is just so good. If
it's not the talent, like what do you think that
about his injury, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's why he went like 90 picks below ADP. I mean, he was going to pick like round one, pick 100.
I think what Anthony's asking, you think he's going to be fine? Because they're talking about like pitching through the PRP. I mean,
yeah,
are you bullish on this?
I'm not exactly bullish on it, but pick 200 as kind of a reserve pitcher. I'll kind of see how long I get. I figure if the arm's not going to go, they'll go by June. Again, I have an extra roster spot because I'm only taking 3 catchers. This is kind of the use of it.
Okay.
And yeah, like I'm not planning on a full season of him. Like I've already moved him to my reserves. Like he's just penciled in as a reserve. If I get something great, if not, whatever. It's pick 200 and something. You're gonna have busts in this range, but the upside is a top 3 type pitcher. So I think it's worth a gamble.
Siege, Michael Fay has a question here. You're the resident Boston expert. They literally just announced that Jarren Duran is going to be their leadoff guy.
Yeah, Jarren Duran can play left field, and Tyler O'Neill can ride the
that's okay. There you go.
Every local Boston report I keep reading says Rafaela, not going to. He's only going to get called up if they do it. And then in the same article, they keep calling Raul Refsnyder the fifth outfielder, and I keep doing the math, and I'm like, wait, that math doesn't make sense because you're not counting Yoshida as an outfielder.
Yeah.
And they keep talking about Rafaela being a big part. They need an extra right-handed bat, and you just keep hearing the noise, and I'm just like, this is screaming like they just don't want to play Tyler O'Neill as much as people think.
Man, you really hate the man. That's a shame. By the way,
he's done nothing. He had one good year, one out of like 6.
He's been hurt, man. He's been hurt. All right, make your pick.
Oh, I gotta make a pick, huh? All right, so let's see. What do I need?
He was also persona non gratis there in St. Louis, so maybe just getting out of the doghouse is half of it.
I'm sure he's gonna love the Boston fans when he strikes out 4 times. I'm sure it's gonna be really good for him.
Oh boy.
Can we talk about somebody else, please?
I
got a plan here. Let's see.
think this is probably the right pick.
A lot of the multi position eligible guys are going, other than if you're looking at like, later round guys that are not interesting, who we're not even thinking about. But yeah, there's just not a lot going on here. We're going to take you guys. We're in the 21st round. We're going to take this through the 25th. I wanted to thank so far Anthony Gialdi, CJ Kaltenbach for joining me here. This has been pretty fun. And yeah, I mean, what's better, right? I mean, and where are all the live drafts, right? I thought, you would think there'd be a whole bunch of live drafts going on, but like when you get into it and you're actually doing it and we're talking about, like there's nothing better. Like
it is
on
the
a
best
Friday night.
And I have to say, for the baseball nerds, which I think we can call ourselves that, like if you're just sitting around and you can watch other people draft, break down drafts, talk about players, BS about stuff. To me, like I just enjoy seeing that so much. And even after the fact, just replaying stuff when you do these streams, Vlad, it's fun to watch. I mean, it's just enjoyable. It's an easy watch. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. We'll knock through these few rounds. Obviously, can't stick around for all 42. We will be doing some beat, folks. Let me make my pick, and then I'll tell you about it. I'm going to do the leadoff hitter for the San Francisco Giants. I haven't been excited about like drafting Giants, I think, ever. It has nothing to do with being a Dodger fan or fandom. It's just like they've just stunk the last few years. You just never have, even somebody. No one's hit 30 homers in a Giants uniform since Barry Bonds. It's insane.
You want a bold prediction?
That Jorge Soler won't?
No. Jung-Hoo Lee is in the running for the batting title this year.
I like it.
The park is really nice for him.
They say that he's going to be there every day. Yeah, thank you. Say that he's going to be there every day, leadoff guy, which is
I'm
good
biased
too.
though. That guy made me so much money in Korean baseball during the pandemic. He's like my favorite.
Yes, he did. It was great.
He was just an autoplay every day, and like he only was like 40% owned because he was 19 and people just wouldn't pay the salary, and he just like crushed every day. It was so awesome.
I was alarmed at the amount of money he got from them. 110 maybe? I can't remember what it was. Like a ton of money. A ton. So he's literally going to play into the ground. They will not sit him.
Vlad's going to take my guy. I know it. Oh, phew.
No, I had to make a tough decision there.
I have suspected. I don't know what you think of this guy, but I suspect this guy might have been who was on your list. Matt Castle, you don't think he's going to platoon, right? I've seen some sites out there that think he's going to platoon, and I don't buy that yet.
No, I mean, he's better suited and obviously in another park. But the guy is, he dealt with vertigo last season. Then he had a shoulder injury towards the end of the year. If you actually dig in and look at his platoon splits, they're both, I mean, yeah, he's better against one handedness than the other, but he still is over 100 WRC plus against both. Just so happened that Ryan O'Hearn had the, season of his life, and the timing was good there. But yes, Ryan Mountcastle is suited. Like if you want the full breakout, 30 plus home runs and that whole thing, 100 RBI, it's going to have to happen somewhere else. And by the way, he looks like Ryan Bloomfield of Baseball HQ. If you guys ever noticed that.
I haven't noticed that.
What do you guys think of Kalenic in Atlanta? The news was that they're not looking to platoon him is interesting. Like that's a lot of upside there.
So as a a quote unquote professional podcaster, I did learn, and because I try to memorize the names or whatever, and I apologize, don't mean to correct you, but because it's so hard, his name just doesn't make sense, and you just think of Kalanick. But I think I learned last year that it's actually just Kelnick. You
Oh,
just
really?
don't pronounce it in the
Okay.
middle. Yeah. How do I feel? I don't know. I'm very both ways. I want it to happen. You just think, put it like this: it's the ultimate battle of who wins between wearing an Atlanta Braves uniform and being automatically good versus the Kelnick suck factor, right? Like something's got to win out there.
You think he's just like doomed?
No, I think he's with the Braves. He's just gonna. I think they're gonna rise up.
I think it's a great dart right there. I really think they've got something special going there, and I think they've seen something in him. That's why they went and got him, and they're going to give him full run. And don't get me wrong, we know his K percentage versus lefties has been horrific, but surely they're going to make some adjustments with the kid. They're not just going to throw him to the Lions and say, good luck, hit 110 versus lefties, you're going to play every day. They've got some ideas. That's why they're not trying to platoon him from day one. And frankly, even if he's just okay versus lefties and let's say he really crushes righties, that's a heck of a pick, you know. And for you in this format, you just want playing time. So if he's going to play every day, that's a great pick.
Yeah, I think I really like that.
What I was referring to earlier, so Ryan Mountcastle over the course of his career, a 130 WRC plus with a 235 ISO against lefties, so obviously better against them, but still a 105 WRC plus against righties with a 175 ISO. So, and the walks, the Ks, they're really not that much different between it. So, all right, we're coming up here on another 2-3 rounds. This is fun, man. This is fun. It's a different beast. Like you said, Anthony, earlier in the show, it's really hard to go from like 15 team, draft champions where you're pulling up, putting up closers early and
Yes.
drafting for balance to like a 10 team wild west like this.
But everything has a nuance, right? So I'm watching this and I'm enjoying it because I have to tell you, just watching, I'm like, I get it. I get the flow now. I understand what everybody's, angling for. And to be honest with you, you can really appreciate it. I think that there's more strategy the deeper a league goes as far as like teams. But in this format with not putting lineups in every day, not dealing with weekly fab, this is really an awesome contest. I could see how guys could get addicted to, you mentioned who's our buddy that you said was on vacation?
Cujo.
You mentioned Cujo and Albright and some of those guys that do tons of these, even Siege. I get it. Like it's almost like lottery tickets, like we do with gladiators. You're just putting a bunch of them out there and seeing if you can hit just the right combo.
It's pretty similar format to the Gladiator. It's just 20 rounds longer.
Yes. And for my question to you guys, because I know you guys do a ton of these, is do you diversify or do you just, and it's really more the first probably 10 to 15 rounds, do you intentionally diversify or do you just take what the draft gives you every time and not get too caught up in trying to not pick a certain guy because you have X amount of shares already?
Well, I'm just going to end up naturally overweight on all the catchers, just given how I do it. God damn it, Vladimir! Ah!
Oh, and you know what? I forgot it was my pick. He was just the only guy in my queue. So sorry. Donnie Dingers, shout out.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
That's extra frustrating, huh? That I had him in my, That's for Tyler O'Neill. That's for Tyler.
Oh, such a good pick. I don't know why he's not going 100 picks higher.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so frustrating.
Lead off for against just righties, or
I think
then he moves lower in the lineup?
Both ways, to be honest.
Really? Okay.
I just don't know who else who would.
He can flat out hit. I mean, I don't know. They've got him at DH here. I mean, what do you think he's going to do? I mean, Gorman's going to be the everyday second baseman then?
I think they're just projecting that off of the last year's injury. They're going to ease him in maybe.
Okay.
But with Edmund probably locked in the DH for the first few weeks, I imagine he'll just play some outfield. But who knows?
Now is Edmund even going to be ready for opening day? Because that's what I heard that he may not be.
I'm projecting that he's not, but I'm only penciling off a couple weeks.
This looks like another team that might sign somebody, or do you think they're done? Because you're looking at it. I mean, you do.
They don't want to spend any money. They're done.
Okay. They got Matt Carpenter back on the team. 38 years old. How long is he going to last? How long before they cut him, do you think?
They won't cut him. He'll get the Pujols treatment.
Oh, he will.
Really?
Okay. That makes sense.
He's just going to be the back end of the bench guy.
He's on that line.
They might phantom IL him if it's that bad, like they did Matt Holliday, but they don't cut the old guy that the fans love. Because then that gives them an excuse not to spend money.
Adam is asking here about Alec Boehm leading off against lefties. Didn't do it last year. Schwarber can't. They would have Bryson Stott's a lefty. He only led off last year when Harper was out against righties. What is it? What do they do against?
It could be Boehm. I when you took him, I even said I thought it was a great value. Like he's the one third baseman outside of the top group that I actually like.
So haven't they traditionally just put Schwarber there for everybody?
I suspect they're going to try to get away from that this year.
Oh, okay.
Just my guess. The batting average is just so low. I think they'll try to just put Boehm up and then try to just push everybody down a spot and see what happens. Because he's just so good against lefties.
So Schwarber's OBP.
It could be Trey Turner too. I mean, that's an option.
Yeah,
that's another thing because I like to get my names right. And again, I'm not what is it? What are the kids called these? Gaslighting? No, not doing that. But Scott Genstad did correct me. He after the pod, and he told me that it's Alec Boehm. So I feel like I knew that some years ago, but I forgot. Okay. Boehm sounds cooler, but apparently it's Boehm.
Okay.
Good to know. And then forget.
All right, let's do. We could go through the end of the 26th round. That's about, it's about what 2/3.
They did sign Merrifield today. I don't know if you guys.
Yeah.
Not that
very disappointing for me. I was hoping he would end up in San Diego and steal one of those outfield slots. He was a second base outfield late target for me, and looking pretty dead at the moment, unfortunately.
Jason wants to know, CJ, are you going to Vegas? Are you doing Midnight Madness?
Not sure I'm going to do Midnight Madness. I'm going to be in Vegas.
Nice.
Are
you doing any auctions when you're there?
I haven't decided what my lineup's going to be yet. I know for sure it's going to be a main or two. Everything else is still kind of up in the air. How many cut lines do I do? Do I do a 3-pack? Do I do Champions League? It's kind of, I haven't really made a decision yet. I'm still kind of up in the air.
The Champions League qualifier, you got to get in. You got to get into that. Everyone.
The problem is I have to do a DC, and I am the worst DC player on the planet.
Yeah,
if it wasn't for the DC, I already would have been in, but I am so bad. It's beyond embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's that bad. It really is just that bad. I am the worst DC player on the planet.
Well, the good part is, you're coming in late here. DC ADP, I mean, it can't be any purer than it is right now. So,
dude,
just go print it out.
Just use VDP and finish top 4 at least.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, that's a good strategy. I swore myself off of DCs after the first 2 years, so there's definitely like a barrier there. It's just like, do I really want to subject myself to this again?
If you're scared, go to church. Okay.
I'll be honest, I definitely am. The DCs and I are probably like, everyone's got their fears. Draft champions is like one of my biggest fears.
Just do one.
Who the hell actually took this player?
This guy has 3 UTs, Team 6.
Yeah, I'm not
Is that a strategy? Is he trying to?
It's a bold one, Cotton.
It's
a bold one, Cotton.
I mean, those guys could really profit.
Yeah,
but you're kind of.
But only one of them can play each day. The other two, no matter if they all.
You really think Buxton's not going to get 10 games of outfield?
Oh, that might happen. Yeah, that might happen.
Oh, you're right. He is going to be. Yep, good point.
So, I mean, JD and Jimenez, I could see him in us getting to 10 games, but I mean, it's a long wait for it.
Yeah, I wouldn't count on that anytime soon. And Buxton, it's really just health, I mean,
It's just a little too early for that. Like I wouldn't mind it like in round 41 if there's someone you like, but it's just a little too early for my taste.
We're gonna wrap things up here. Go around the bend here. These last few picks coming in, but just like anything that you guys have to plug or just or say, just Anthony, what do you got?
Not much. Just really enjoy chatting with you. It was a lot of fun to just be an observer for once. Usually when I do these, I'm actually doing what you're doing and having to concentrate at the same time of discussion. So it's great to just sit in with you guys. I really enjoy it. It's a great format. Appreciate the time that you guys spend with me and Siege. I think watching you and Vlad, you guys are not the same style. It's a good pod. It gives a lot of different perspective for me. So
it's our conversations in Vegas are always fun because we kind of.
I wasn't going to go any deeper, but yeah, it's a good time. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and also we're former coworkers, known each other for many years, and talking baseball for many years. But Siege, you you took a little break from the content game. Are you ever planning to get back in it, or what are you up to?
I'm planning on getting back in it at some point, but right now I'm doing kind of my own thing on my Dub Club channel, which you can find on my Twitter profile. Kind of just doing my own thing right now. Honestly, it's been one of the best sports betting seasons I've ever had, and it's kind of translated from my DFS projections. So kind of just don't want to change anything at the moment. It's rolling really well. But yeah, I'm going to get back into it full time at some point, but I've kind of enjoyed the break. I've kind of done it to get myself a little more healthy, cut alcohol out of my life, and kind of just regroup and refocus and then come back even better. But yeah, I'm going to get around to it in the next few months, getting back in full time somewhere, I'm sure.
Oh, and for people that don't know you, you're like a champion, like darts player, right?
I wouldn't go that far, but yeah, the Garrett game has definitely been on the rise too. I've been putting a lot of practice time in, so that's been good as well. So yeah, it's been nice to be like kind of my own boss, but it's also probably time to be like, all right, let's get a little more serious, get back into it full time. But I've been enjoying kind of doing it 3/4 of the time at the moment.
And your guys' Twitter handles for people that don't follow you?
At the Siege, SEIGE DFS.
Anthony?
Yeah, and, I'm at Gialde, GIALDE. So
excellent. And I'm at RotoGut, Vlad Sedler. FTN Fantasy is the site, ftnfantasy.com. Definitely check it out. Get your Cutline rankings, projections, everything you need with us. And then, a couple of new people that we added this year, phenomenal content writers, Lucas Beery and then Michael Mager. Mike Mager is actually a first-time writer. He is, a dominant NFBC player, has been in the auction format and redraft format for years. And he's just really, really crushing it there. Our Discords are pretty active. Lots of good conversation there. So definitely check us out, ftnfantasy.com. For the Siege, for Anthony Gialde, I'm Vlad Sedler. We'll catch you next draft.